Welcome back to Recap Central. Today I am going to explain a fantasy drama movie called Big Fish. Spoilers ahead. At his son's wedding, a man named Edward is telling a story, explaining how he caught an uncatchable fish with his wedding ring. His son Will leaves. Outside they argue. Will is angry because his dad wasn't around when he was a kid and because he only cares about himself. After that they don't speak for 3 years. Will is working in Paris. When he comes home he gets a call from his mom. His dad is terminal. Will and his wife go to visit him. On the plane he remembers a story his father told him. Young Edward and his friends are investigating a witch's house. People say you can see how you will die if you look into her glass eye. Edward goes to find the eye. When he approaches, the witch opens the door. He brings her to his friends and they see how they will die. Edward wants to see his death because then he will know nothing else will kill him. He is satisfied when he learns how he will die. Will arrives at his parents' house. He brings his dad some food. Edward isn't worried because he won't die yet. When Edward was young, one day he started growing and was confined to bed for 3 years. When he stopped growing he was a full-grown adult. He also became very successful in his town, playing basketball, football, and owning a company. A giant appears in Edward's town. An angry mob gathers to kill the giant. Edward volunteers to talk to the giant. He tells him big men like them should be in the big city. They decide to travel together. Outside the village there are 2 roads. One of them is said to be haunted. Edward decides to take the haunted one and the giant goes the other way. Edward makes his way down the path. On the other side he finds a village. A man greets him and says they've been expecting him. They eat lunch with a poet from Edward's town. A little girl steals his shoes and hangs them on a line with the rest of the villagers' shoes. Later that night there is a dance. Edward decides he must leave now. Before he goes he promises the little girl he will return someday. He continues on his path. When he gets out of the forest it's still day. And he finds the giant man. Edward arrives at a circus. One of the circus acts is a very tall man. Edward whistles and shows them the giant. That's how the giant found his calling in life. Edward sees a girl and instantly falls in love with her, but she leaves before he can talk to her. The circus owner knows the girl. He tells Edward for every month he works for him he will tell him a thing about her. Edward accepts. After some months Edward can't wait anymore. He goes to talk to the circus owner. But when he opens his door a wolf comes out and attacks him. He distracts him by throwing a stick. The next morning the circus owner appears with the stick in his mouth. He tells Edward where to find the girl. But when he arrives she is already engaged. He decides he's going to marry her anyway. He plants a field of flowers for her. Her fiancé sees it and beats Edward. After that she doesn't want to marry him anymore. Edward gets drafted into the army. In one of his missions he meets 2 conjoined twins. They all escape the country and go to America. He finds his wife who thought he was dead. Will's wife tells him she likes how his parents met. Will says that story are mostly lies and he always thought his father had a second family. The next day Will talks with his father. He says he's been lying his whole life and he should tell the truth. Edward says he's always told the truth. In his father's shed Will finds out he actually went missing in the war. Young Edward finds a job as a traveling salesman. He becomes quite successful. Going to the bank he encounters the poet. The poet robs the bank and Edward ends up helping him. The bank vault is empty. Edward explains to the poet it's because of Wall Street. The poet decides to go work on Wall Street. When he makes some money he sends Edward $10,000. Enough for Edward to buy a house. Will finds a woman's direction looking in his father's papers. He visits the woman. She tells her how she met his father. Young Edward is driving when a storm stops him. He finds the town of Spectre now bankrupt and buys it. He enters the last house he hasn't bought yet. The owner is the girl that he promised he would come back to. She doesn't want to sell the house. So Edward starts repairing the house. After the house is repaired the girl sells it to Edward. Edward leaves and never returns to the town. The girl tells Will his father loved his family more than her. Will goes to the hospital. His dad had a stroke. When his dad wakes up, Will tells him how he's going to die. In his story, they go to the river and all the people Edward knew are there. Will takes him into the water and he transforms into a fish. When he finishes the story, Edward passes away. At the funeral, Will sees the giant man and the conjoined twins.